Hey, good morning and welcome back to Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com. We're back for our second season now.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy that today is Happy New Year for baseball fans.
That's right, down under.
Down under, we've got baseball action after a long and very cold winter here in the Northeast. We are very happy to be back on the air and talking about baseball again. Let me take a minute to bring you up to speed on what the show's all about. If you're a first-time viewer, Fantasy Baseball Code Red is designed to be an interactive and hopefully humorous and very informational show about fantasy baseball. We actually have a big lineup this year. We're bringing in a bunch of new analysts to join the General and myself. Today we have a man who is a virtual pool of fantasy baseball knowledge, a man with clearly too much time on his hands.
That's true.
We call him the Guru.
Stephen the Guru Ruddy.
Stephen the Guru Ruddy. And over to my left here, returning is the General, legend in his own mind.
I'm a legend in everyone's mind. Don't kid yourself for 1 minute there, Admiral.
All right, so listen, let's jump right in. Let's kick it off. I'm excited. We'll start with a quick review of last year. The big stories from last year, obviously the biogenesis scandal. The only holdover that appears to be in effect for this year is the suspension of A-Rod. We won't be seeing him at least for another year, and that's fine with me.
I've had enough. Now we're reading about his lawyers on top of it all. He didn't pay his lawyers.
Yeah.
So
Apparently,
it's enough already. Baseball, forget about A-Rod.
Forget about him.
We'll see him next year, maybe.
Yeah. We had the award winners from last year, guys with big seasons. Cy Young Award winners, Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer came out and just had a monster year last year. I mean, just unbelievable.
You think they're regretting that trade in Arizona, getting DD
I'd have to say so.
They got a guy that I guess won't even be the shortstop there anymore.
Yeah.
right.
So.
Yeah. MVPs from last year, McCutchen.
That was an easy choice.
It was an easy choice, man, and a guy that I still think the best is yet to come with this guy.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more from him, and I'm a little surprised, though. I mean, Goldschmidt, I think, had a phenomenal season. It was probably just a very close second, but when you can steal bases, and if McCutchen does a little bit more of that, he goes off the charts for me. If he starts stealing some more bases, gets a little stronger, him and Trout are the two big guys going forward, in the next couple of years.
Yeah. And then, of course, the AL MVP, Miguel Cabrera, kind of goes without saying, but just another unbelievable year last year.
Yeah, the only thing about him is I have a bad taste in my mouth from Miguel Cabrera. He hit one home run from like the last weekend in August through the end of the season. And I, of course, traded for him. And he was supposed to carry me to the promised land. And I tell you what, he couldn't carry his bat to the plate because he didn't.
And you paid a king's ransom, if I recall.
I did, and I got very little. I mean, he was hurt. He had a groin injury. I understand all that, but God, what a disaster. He's healthy now, so I expect that he'll go out and produce this year. Yeah,
and then we had the Rookies of the Year, Jose Fernandez, who just was a big surprise last year. I mean, we all knew that he had talent, but he really broke out last year.
Well, yeah, he was in Single A before that, and being brought up from Single A and being able to dominate the majors,
unbelievable.
It was very rare.
And then Will Myers had a pretty good year, won the AL Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
And then we had some other guys break out. I mean, big stories last year. Yasiel Puig.
My man crush from last year.
Your man crush from last year, Puig, was just unbelievable. Really carried the Dodgers for a while last year.
He's the reason why the Dodgers did anything last year, because without him, they were dead. I mean, they were dead when he came up to the team, and he ignited that roster, and they went right down, to make the playoffs and everything. And if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have been there.
And then, of course, in addition to Fernandez, we had Matt Harvey for two-thirds of a season. My man crush.
Right.
Who just broke out in a big way and was absolutely dominant for the Mets until he wound up, blowing out his elbow and unfortunately having Tommy John. We'll give you an update on him later.
The thing on Matt Harvey, that we did a show last year when I was talking about him pitching that game, where you could see his slider wasn't working well, and I really think that was a game that did him in.
Yeah. And then, we had some pretty notable players retire last year. Todd Helton, great career. Roy Halladay has played his last game, and Mariano Rivera, who I have to say really was, got a proper send-off for a guy that had the type of career that he had. I mean, he was just absolutely incredible, just a dominant player at his position for a long time. And, I remember when he was a setup man for Wetland for the Yankees, and, there was talk that he just didn't have the I guess the physical makeup to be a closer and be able to take the the wear and tear and going out there every other day or so, and he proved everybody wrong. What a career.
Yeah, I'm sorry to see him go.
Yeah. Okay, then we had some free agent signings, couple of trades. Yankees very busy.
Yeah, they had a lot of money to spend with A-Rod's contract not holding over them this year.
And then
a couple
not
of players
signing
retiring.
Cano, who wound up going to Seattle. That was the big move of the year, Cano to Seattle.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if Cano can keep his stats where they were with the Yankees. Seattle seems to be a place where bats go to die, and no one ever really seems to come out of that team
It's
and
a
put up
tough
big numbers.
It's a tough hitter's park.
It's just I don't know, and he's not a great supporting cast around him. Couple of hitters, but I don't know if you're going to see anywhere near what we were seeing with the Yankees, at least not in year one.
You know what? I mean, you look at him from a fantasy perspective, and his road and home splits are pretty even. So you can pretty much bank that the batting average is going to be there
for one of the best lineups in baseball. That's the thing,
Well, the Yankees didn't have one of the best lineups in baseball last year.
They've always had bats.
I'll agree with that. But I think where you're going to see a little bit of a slip with Cano this year is in home runs. Because it's a place that where home runs go to die. I mean, it's not Yankee Stadium. It's not the short porch in Yankee Stadium. So I think you're going to see a little regression with him on home runs.
I don't think so. Last year he only hit 11 at home and 16 on the road, and they did a mapping of the distance of his home runs and put it over Safeco, and they said all but one home run.
They're all going
would have been
out.
a home
No,
run.
I don't doubt he'll hit. But the thing is, there's two things you have to remember. They don't have to pitch to him as much now as they did it with the Yankees, and I don't think there's going to be as many guys, in front of him that are going to give him the support to getting on base. Those are going to be factors. So
it's a factor. He's still a first-round draft choice, I would think, but I think you'll see a slight regression there. Yankees also signed Masahiro Tanaka from Japan.
The Tanaka blast.
Listen, he's a bit of an unknown. I mean, everybody knows what he did over in Japan, 24-0, just an absolutely dominant pitcher over there. But Japan is a different animal. The ball is a little smaller, the parks are a little bit smaller, the competition isn't what it is over here. Do I think he's still going to be a great pitcher over here? Yeah. Is he going to be Darvish? I don't know.
Well, the Yankees have 155 million reasons to believe that he will be a great pitcher over here.
It'll take him a year to adjust like it did Darvish also.
Probably. Beltran to the Yanks, Ellsbury to the Yanks,
Yeah, they overpaid on
McCann to the
Ellsbury.
Yanks.
Just come on in, folks. The water's fine, everybody. We'll take them all.
They overpaid on Ellsbury.
They overpaid on all of them. They overpaid on McCann, probably. I mean,
I think most of those contracts are questionable, but it's the Yankees' way of doing business. My apologies to you and the other Yankees fans out there,
That's okay.
but it's just the Yankees' way of doing business. Chu to Texas, I like.
yeah, if he could hit a left-handed pitcher, maybe I would agree with you. But this man cannot hit left-handed pitching at all.
Yeah, Garza to the Brewers is probably a pretty good move. He didn't do well in Texas at the end of last year, but Matt Garza is a usable pitcher in fantasy baseball. He's a guy that should get drafted in the middle rounds and contribute to your team. Curtis Granderson to the Mets.
That's a non-move.
You know what? I wouldn't call it a non-move. I mean, the Mets were desperate for a power bat. You're going to have to live with his 240 batting average, but he still should wind up hitting, I would say 30 homers.
No.
I'm going to say 30 homers and 90 runs batted in.
Not in City Field.
Not
He's
there.
gonna hit
I have a
30 homers.
feeling that that's going to be a reach. I think he probably is going to settle in the low 20s, and it's going to be a reach at City Field. No one can seem to get a hold of that ballpark and hit there. No one's really been able to do it.
I mean, they did bring the fences in a little bit, but we'll see what happens there. Peralta to the Cards, coming off his
PED season.
PED scandal. That's probably not a bad move. A.J. Burnett to the Phillies.
Yeah, that hurts him.
That hurts him in a big way. I mean, he's going from probably a middle of the pack ballpark to a almost hitter's paradise in Philly. He's 39 years old.
And his home road splits were tremendous last year.
I mean, he's a guy that, you know, in the drafts that I've participated in already has gone very late. I actually did take him, you know, very late in like the 20th round. He was still out there, so I figured let me, you know, use him maybe when he's on the road. He's not going to be in my starting rotation, but, you know, he's a guy that I hope to be able to use, you know, for spot starts. Nelson Cruz to Baltimore.
No, he'll be productive. I mean, that's a ballpark where he can do well. It's probably similar to Texas. You know, he's got a supporting cast there. There's a lot of bats in that lineup. I'd be curious to see how well he could do, but you'll see no worse, I think, than what you've already seen from him.
Yeah. Then the big trade, Prince Fielder for Ian Kinsler, which I have to tell you guys caught me completely by surprise. You know, I understand that Detroit needed a second baseman, but you know, I don't understand trading Prince Fielder. I think Prince Fielder is a guy that will explode this year in Texas, hitting in that park. I expect him to have a huge year. Kinsler is a big risk. He's injury prone, and he's really, you know, kind of on the downside of his career.
I would agree with that to a certain extent, but I think that this trade had more to do with money than it did anything else.
Absolutely.
It did.
So it really wasn't about talent. You know, there was a decision made that they didn't want to deal with Prince Fielder's, you know, salary anymore, and they moved on, you know, and got what they could get for him. And probably everybody knew that, so when everybody knows that, you're not going to get a whole lot for the guy anyway. So.
Yeah. All right, and then some breaking news from this week. We had a very ugly incident this week with Aroldis Chapman. You know what? It was scary, almost sickening to watch.
Terrible.
I mean, here's a guy that throws 100 miles an hour that, you know, I don't know what the speed of the ball coming back at him is, but it's got to be close to that.
Yep.
And he took it right in the head, right in the face. And, you know, fortunately, he's only going to miss about 6 to 8 weeks. You know, no brain damage. He had to have surgery to fix some facial fractures.
Titanium plate in his head.
A little plate in the head. He's going to have trouble going through the airport, I guess. But you know what? What worries me about him, though, is the psychological aspect of that. What happens to a guy, you know, that now has to go back up on the mound and have to think about that?
Right.
You know, is he going to recover, you know, mentally from that? It would be my question, but.
Well, as a pitcher that has been hit in the head with a ball.
Oh, no. Well, that explains a lot.
Because my catcher couldn't see it.
Well, the only problem with that is that your fastball tops out at about 62 miles an hour. So you didn't have too much to worry about.
Yeah, it does.
This is the only guy that I caught that I never had to worry about actually catching the ball because it was hit at pretty much every time.
You know you're in trouble when the catcher is throwing it back to the pitcher harder than the pitcher threw it to the catcher. But.
All right, so anyway, Chapman out until late May.
But I know all replacements for Chapman.
Well,
J.J. Hoover is one of the possible candidates.
No, he appears to be the front runner right now. But you got to watch Broxton. Broxton's been throwing. He's throwing well. They brought him over there really to be a setup man for Chapman, but he could be the one that eventually steps into the role.
The Reds manager said they're going by a closer by committee, and he mentioned Hoover. He mentioned the guy I like, which is Liqueur, Para, and Marshall. He never mentioned Broxton.
Yeah, Marshall is a guy, but I would watch Broxton. I would watch him. Then we've got the George Springer controversy. I'm going to throw it to you, General, because you live and
honestly,
breathe
it'd be
George
more of a
Springer.
controversy if he would have hit in spring training. I mean,
Well,
because
he had a horrible spring.
He didn't really hit in spring training, and that caused, you know, to be kind of like almost like a non-story. So they sent him down. But the thing is with the Astros that just drives me crazy is that it came to light this week that he was offered. The Astros offered George Springer $23 million to sign right now and forego his ability to go free agent.
All right, but how many years? I think it was a 6-year or 7-year deal?
6-7 year deal. They were trying to lock him up, same way that I guess the Rays did with Evan
You know,
Longoria.
a lot of teams employ that strategy, and it's a good strategy, but if you're a player, it's questionable. I mean, do you want to take the money and have that financial security, but, you know, with the possibility of giving up a boatload of money when you're eligible for arbitration or you become a free agent, or, you know, to me, it's a difficult call.
My issue is not about whether the player accepts. My issue is how the Astros are handling George Springer, because he went and had a season last year becoming like the first player since the 50s to almost become a 40-40 player in the minors. It's a very unusual thing. The man is a hitter. He can steal bases. He is a player. That team has no players. So, okay, we got through last year. They never brought him up, even though he deserved it, because they didn't want to start his service clock. All right, I get it. Now, this year, there are really no excuses. You can't use these spring training at-bats as your excuse not to give George Springer an opportunity to play in the outfield. But they're going to do it again, and they're going to hold him back until his Super 2 status passes.
Right.
And we're not going to see him until June. And
Guys,
to me, if he was good enough for $23 million in September, he's good enough to start in your outfield.
But you got to remember, baseball is a business.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the rules in the collective bargaining agreement, teams have to try to, and I don't agree with it, but teams have to try to adapt and try to, you know, manage their expenses. Not everybody's the Yankees with a blank checkbook. I mean, you know, these small market teams have to manage their payroll and they have to play these ridiculous games. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And it's not going to end anytime soon.
And it works for some teams. You look at, you know, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
They don't go out, sign big free agents.
Yeah.
They keep their own players, and when they come up time that they need to go somewhere else.
You know, and that's
they
the
let
route
them go.
even a big market team like the Mets are going now. And you know, as frustrating as that is as a Mets fan, you know, it's just, you know, the route a lot of teams have to take right now to try to be competitive. They have to build from within.
The Mets have no excuse. This is ridiculous.
I agree.
They are out of this discussion because they should not be looking at any Super 2 stuff or service time on these players.
They should.
They didn't sign a whole lot of guys for a whole lot of money. Guys like Montero and Syndergaard down in the minors, that's all you have. They should be, give the fans something. You'll pay for it later on because you're certainly not paying for it now. They have a low pay, it's low.
They have a $90 million payroll,
right,
but that's half of what the Yankees are spending.
For a major market team.
For a major market team, that's really a very low payroll.
They should not be doing the same thing.
I agree.
think you'd rather see
agree.
Syndergaard.
Syndergaard should be up.
He should be
He'll
up.
be up.
Yeah.
He should be up.
He'll be up.
But
He will be up, but he should be up
Probably
to start the
June.
season.
Yeah, he should, but he'll probably be up around June.
unless there's disaster and Cologne trips over a banana peel at the buffet table.
Well, listen, Nice is hurt.
Or Nice is uncertain. And listen, anything could happen.
Yeah.
So.
All right, one last breaking news story. Not that it's a breaking news story, but we've got the retirement this year of Derek Jeter. Somebody hand me a tissue, please. Let me wipe a crocodile tear. Listen, guy had a great career. You know, we're not even going to get on because we'll be here for the rest of the show.
Discuss his
you know, we've got differing opinions on Mr. Jeter.
We will not discuss DJ's place in history.
We will not discuss that now.
We'll just be there in 5 years when he goes into the hall.
Listen, you know what? He's going to go out. He's going to do what Rivera did last year. He's going to have his.
Get all your gifts out, folks. Detroit, Tampa Bay, Cleveland. You guys better go shopping. Derek's coming to town.
All right, listen, let's take a quick break. I want to remind everybody that we are taking your input. This is an interactive show. We're taking your input on our chat box. We'll also be taking phone calls at 855-446-7284. That's 855-446-7284. Give us a call and let us know what's on your mind. All right, we'll be back in a minute after this break.
InRavio.com.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time, like catching a cold or one of those awful stomach bugs. But we at Got Lice have your solution. You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural and organic, but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience whenever you want us. We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment. Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice at no additional cost. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
Girls, 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 all have something to say. Some say their emotions get in the way. Some like them big, some like them skinny. Oh, girls, please come this way. We must unite, this is the place. You don't have to show your face. Girls, I'll be a lady of today. So say what you
this is your good buddies Bruce and Disco from the Glory Days Show, which can be seen every Sunday morning starting at 10 a.m. here in the East.
We have sports highlights, movie reviews, and celebrity interviews.
We have out-of-town correspondents, Timmy the Trotter giving us horse racing tips, and at the end of every show, Mr. B does a live song.
The Glory Days Show, found only on radio.com, broadcasting to the world. Catch us.
We are back. We've got some action here on our chat box. A little shout out to Jenna and Jocelyn over in East Setauket. Hope you guys are learning a lot about fantasy baseball right now. All right, listen, we're going to get into a segment. This is our kind of pre-draft show, our season preview. We're going to talk a little bit now about our 2014 studs, duds, sleepers, and keepers. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about the studs. You know, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's pretty much fantasy baseball 101. We will give you some tips on our duds, our sleepers, and our potential keepers for next year. So we'll go by position. Let's start off with catchers. Okay, we've got our studs this year. You know, obviously Buster Posey, Willen Rosario, Maurer, although he's got dual eligibility, I believe, this year. He's also eligible at first base. Let's talk about some duds, though.
Well, I have one more stud that you seem to overlook is Carlos Santana.
Yes. Also will be eligible at first base.
And third base.
So good guy to have.
That's extremely valuable.
Yeah, that's very valuable. A couple of duds. A guy that I've been riding for a few years now is Miguel Montero, and had a horrible season last year. I'm kind of expecting the trend to continue. The catcher is a fairly deep position. You know, if you're in a 12-man league, you're probably not going to need to draft a guy like Montero. Another guy I'd stay away from is Ruiz. Not looking for a whole lot out of him.
Right.
I think that with the catching position, I mean, you're saying that it's a fairly deep. It's not that it's deep. The problem is you don't get a whole lot of production out of that position outside of Santana, Rosario, Posey, and Maurer. Now, after you get away from those 4, maybe 5 guys, if you want to add in 1 or 2 more, after that, it's a mishmash of guys that maybe going to hit 10 to 12 homers and driving 60 runs. So at that point, you can take risk. You know, if those guys are off the board and they're out of the picture,
right.
You know what?
Right, you
Take
lay
a
back
shot.
and you wait. I mean, you know
wait.
what?
Don't. I mean, if there's 8 guys that are all going to hit 10 homers and driving 60 runs, then don't burn a pick.
Yeah.
There.
You know, a guy that you
Might
can
as
get
well wait.
laid, and some of the sleepers that I have are, you know, D'Arnaud, Jason Castro, who I think is, you know, a quality fallback option. You've got guys like Gaddis.
Wilson Ramos of Washington.
Yeah.
Victor Martinez, who is only first base eligible right now, but the Tigers are saying he's going to catch 1 or 2 games a week. So depending on what kind of league you're in and the eligibility requirements for it, he's somebody that you can pick up. He's in the 170s range right now as ADP, but he's somebody you can pick up and then in a month insert into your catcher position.
Big. Martinez would slip into the category with the other guys we just talked about as being on the stud level. But I am taking Travis d'Arnaud off of the sleeper category. Dude, this guy is not a sleeper. He has lost sleeper status. I am asleep reading about this guy. I'm done with this guy. He's been traded twice. In the minors, he can't stay healthy. He's now in the majors.
I'm going to stop you.
I got to see this
I
guy
am going
play.
to stop you right there. I'm going to say this about the guy. He has been injury prone, but it's not the type of injuries that you would worry about with a catcher. He doesn't have shoulder problems. He doesn't have elbow problems. What he has is broken bones. You know, and that's going to happen, but it's not something that would be an indicator to me that it's going to be a consistent chronic problem.
Guru.
The guy,
when you're catching and you have balls thrown at you, and
listen,
you get
nobody
hit,
can
you're
tell
not
you
gonna
more
get
about
broken
catching
bones.
than me, okay? I can barely stand right now because my knees are shot. But
Are you high on this guy as a sleeper?
Not at all.
Right?
I'm high on him as a sleeper.
There you have it,
because
folks. 2 out of the 3 people
All
at
right.
the table.
I will
Now
prove
say.
you guys wrong later this season.
We'll
The
see.
guy will wind up hitting probably 15, 16 home runs this year, driving 60, 70, you know.
City Field.
I
I
see
am
that
speechless is what I am.
City Field. That's all I have to say.
All right. One last guy I want to throw out there is Jonathan LaCroix.
Yes.
Another guy that you probably want to keep an eye on as a sleeper.
He'll go in the mid rounds. He's not somebody that's going to fall in the late rounds, but he'll
He'll go mid-rounds. He's actually still available in a draft that I'm doing as we speak. And we're in like the 20th round. And
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly, he's
But
still
there are
out
4
there.
teams.
No, no, there are 12 or 14. All right, let's get into first baseman a little bit. We've got the new lineup of studs this year. I feel led by Paul Goldschmidt.
Oh, without a doubt. He's definitely, any draft you're in, if he's not the 3rd pick, something's wrong with that draft.
Yeah. You know, he's a guy that I was actually hesitant on last year. Didn't expect him to break out the way that he did and just had a tremendous season. And I see no reason why that trend will not continue with this guy.
No, I think there's no doubt in my mind either. But I think everyone's afraid of Chris Davis for some reason. And everyone's like, there's no way this guy is going to have the season he had last year. That may be true, but I still think that Chris Davis is a quality, big-time stud first base hitter on a good lineup, on a good team.
No question.
So I'm not going to just discount him.
No, you're not going to discount him. I think you probably rank Goldschmidt ahead of him, believe it or not, because I could see him falling back into the 40s. You know, with his home run production,
Yes, I can
and
see
he's
that.
probably going to hit 260. He's not going to steal any bases. You know, what you get out of Goldschmidt is you get batting average, you get home runs, you get RBIs, you get stolen bases. That's rare. That's rare for a first
You're
baseman.
getting 15 steals. And
And that was the only
blemish.
blemish off Kershaw tonight, last night, early this morning, when
Yeah.
everybody called
Yeah.
down under. You know, he was cruising through the game, and then Goldschmidt, you know, hit a monster shot into the left center field gap off of him.
Yeah, that it should have gone out or could have gone out. I think that
Right.
was a little.
Well, the ball doesn't carry in the land down.
Well, it doesn't. You know, apparently it's a
You're
little
playing
windy.
on the grounds of the city cricket
Little windy in Sydney.
organization. Yes.
All right. The other guy, obviously, that's a stud is Fielder. And the reason I'm bringing him up is, again, I said it earlier in the show, I expect this guy to have a huge year. Huge.
I'll still take
Big.
Votto over Fielder, though.
Who?
Joey Votto. I'll take him over Fielder.
Okay, that we can
I'm
debate.
down on Votto after last year.
I'm a little
My
down on
God.
Votto. I still like him a lot, but if I had my choice, I'm taking Fielder. Duds, and I think you and I are going to team up on the general right now, but there are some guys that are very close in their careers to calling it a day. Pujols, you know what? He's still going to be starting on somebody's fantasy roster, but this is a guy in deep decline. You know, we can't come out and say his career is over, but you know, he's definitely
Yeah, the 320, 40, 120,
Over.
10 is over.
Over.
You know, you're going to get a 280, 25 out of him.
I still think that there's room in there to hit 30 if he stays healthy. Look, if he's hurt and he's missed the entire year, then forget it. But if he
Yeah.
stays healthy, I still think there's room in there for him to hit 30 homers, driving 100 runs in that lineup. You know, and okay, great at 320, 40, and 120 is gone. But how many guys are going to do that? He has value to me. He still has value out there.
He has value, but, you know, in the pecking order now with first baseman, I mean, it's a deep position
Right, he's
now.
dropped. No
He's
question.
dropped
He
considerably.
has dropped, but I still think this is a guy that you shouldn't be afraid of. If he's dropping in your draft, and all of a sudden you're looking around, you see who's out there, and you say, well, geez, do I take a guy of this ability who's at, he's not only 33, 34, whatever
Yeah,
he is,
yeah.
or do I go ahead and just draft a rookie or something else? That's a discussion that I don't think is worthy of Pujols.
Well, you know what, the good thing for him is he's hitting in a pretty stacked lineup.
If he stays healthy,
If he stays
the numbers,
healthy,
the numbers are going to be there.
You know, he's usable at this point, but that's a big drop off from, you know, the stud status that he had just a couple of years ago.
Right.
Another guy that's taken a big drop is Ryan Howard.
Right, injuries have hurt him.
You know, he's got a collective 600 bats over the last 2 seasons. You know, he claims that he feels healthy enough to play every game this year. We'll see. If he does, you know, can he hit 30 home runs? Maybe.
I think the discussion is more about whether or not they're going to play as opposed to whether they're going to produce. Now, I think if they're healthy, any of these guys that are coming back, like Teixeira, all 3 of these guys, you know, Howard, Pujols, all coming back from injuries. I think Teixeira's in his early 30s.
Yeah.
They're all in their early 30s. They're not 40. They're early 30s, which is the new 20s. I think if they play, I think there's enough production there that no matter where you draft them, aside from not drafting them in the first few rounds, but where you get them, you're going to get value for your draft pick.
Yes, I would agree with that. And there are a couple of guys that fall into that category. I mean, Mark Teixeira, you know, he's a guy that I have on my dud list. But if you can get him late enough, you know, it's probably worth a shot. Justin Morneau now in Colorado, you know, another guy that people are way down on this year. I mean,
He's
I
going to
see
go
him-
undrafted in most drafts.
You know what?
He's
Or
gonna go
drafted
undrafted.
very late.
And here's somebody, you know, he had a pretty good season last year, but he's going to Colorado. And we all know, you know, what Colorado does to a hitter.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 40 homers out of him, but could you get a 300,
Do you see him being
25,
drafted?
100?
Yeah, I see that.
I see him being drafted
Like
in the late
20,
rounds.
20s?
Yeah.
20
Well, he
okay.
was actually just drafted in the league that I'm drafting right now, and he won the 20th round.
Like in the 20s, at that point,
So, if
the
that's an
gamble is well worth
indication,
the
yeah.
risk, you
Right,
know,
but
I mean,
that's when you take him, because if he starts off hot, you slide him into the util spot on
Yeah.
your line.
Well, that's probably where he'll be. Okay, let's talk about some sleepers at the first base position. I've got a couple of guys that I'm a little excited about. Brandon Belt.
Yeah, he's going to break out this year.
You know what? I've been waiting for him to break out for a couple of years now. He showed signs of it last year. I think this could be the year.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, Belt, he'll give you, you know, 280, 290, 20 homers, and he'll throw in a couple of steals also.
Yeah. Jose Abreu.
the big question mark. Another international man of mystery. If he stays healthy, which already this guy's not healthy, but let's assume he stays healthy and plays. Based on everything I've read and a lot of the video that I watched of him, you know, coming out of the Cuban League, I think this guy is going to be a serious major league hitter. But there's always a little bit of reservation, so I'm not so sure if I'm a first rounder with him. I don't think I can go that crazy.
I wouldn't go first
I'd have
round.
I'd have to go somewhere later than that. I don't know where.
Yeah.
You have to see how your draft goes.
Well, you
but-
know, again, he's a guy that, you know, will probably be out there for a little while just because of the depth at the position. So if you don't land one of the studs, you know, he's a guy that you could probably get your hands on mid-round or, you know, somewhere in the middle of the draft.
Middle or like 4th or 5th round? I mean,
I would say probably.
I wouldn't take him 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
I
that's
worry,
what I'm
I worry
saying,
about his
so-
contact.
Well,
Your
I'm
risk- the
thinking.
risk level with
yeah,
him
I'm thinking
is-
the risk level
Yeah.
is high enough where I'd probably take him like 8th round, maybe.
And the position is deep enough that, you know, you don't have to worry.
Yeah, yeah. Because, you know, then you got guys, you know, and I'm going to kind of classify them as my future keepers. You've got guys like Freddie Freeman, who I think is going to be a big name next year.
He's already a top.
He's already a big name, but he's a guy that, you know, I think his best years are ahead of him. Mark Trumbo, you know, going to Arizona now, I think is a great move for him. He is going to be moving to the outfield, so he'll
Right.
probably lose his eligibility at first base at some point. And then a guy I know you like a lot,
Eric
Guru,
Hosmer.
is Hosmer.
Yep. really big on him. You're talking 320 homers and double-digit steals. You call him a Goldschmidt light.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, though? He is a guy that, could be one of those big breakout guys this year. Okay, let's talk about second baseman a little bit. I mean, you've got your typical, guys that are going to be drafted early. Topping that list is Cano. Not too far behind him is a guy I like a lot, Jason Kipnis.
Right now, I would draft Kipnis over Cano.
Yeah, he gives you the
questionable, but
he gives you the added,
Well, Cano's 31. Kipnis is younger. Lot of potential.
Yeah.
Pedroia's another guy that I still think belongs in that upper echelon of second baseman. Some duds. Ricky Weeks, I don't think even has a starting job this year.
Ricky Weeks should be out of baseball at this point. It's just he is one of those guys that every single year everyone seems to think is going to do something at that second base position. He's going to hit 25 homers, but he never ever.
He's a tease.
He hasn't really had a great season, I don't think yet.
But he's had flashes, and that's why he's still playing.
He can flash himself right out. I'm done with him. No more Ricky Weeks in my world.
Another big dud, and Atlanta really got tied into a bad contract with this guy, but Dan Ugla.
Oh, yeah.
This is terrible.
Right now we're saying free Tommy LaStella, have him come up and play second base.
I mean, he's been Dan Ugly. I mean, it's just bad.
It's downright awful, and I wouldn't want him. Again, another guy should be undrafted or like your last pick.
Very late, very late. And then a guy who I have a big problem with, only because we talked about this on last year's show around All-Star balloting time, Marco Scutaro, who somehow almost made the All-Star team as a starter.
Him and Crawford.
I don't understand what's going on out in San Francisco. I think I have an idea. You get medical marijuana on just about any corner out there, so that might explain the Scutaro situation, but he's a dud. A couple of sleepers. I like Jerko a lot.
I think that from in that category at second base, if you can get a guy who potentially hit 30 homers, and I think that Jerko has that ability, even in that ballpark in San Diego, I think that makes him very valuable. Last year, off the top of my head, I think he had close to 450 at-bats, not 550 at-bats, 23 homers, 67 RBIs, give or take. So if he had a full season, no injuries, I think 30, 85, 30, 90, no one's driving in 110 runs on that team, I don't think.
No.
But I think he could be productive at that position.
Yeah.
And be
He's almost like a young Ugla right now, but with his best years ahead of him.
And he could slip in your draft. He doesn't get a lot of notoriety. No
Right.
one's really talking about him out in San Diego. He could be there when you want him.
Yeah. Another guy to keep your eye on is Dozier. He's a guy that I think might be able to step up a little bit this year. And then I would say some future keepers. You can't discount Jurickson Profar,
No.
based on what happened last year. He's a guy with second base eligibility who will, he's got all the tools. He's hitting in a great park. He's hitting in a good lineup. He's a guy that's, in my estimation, will take a step forward this year. I don't see him as a big breakout, but I see him taking a step forward this year and really becoming pretty relevant.
I mean, if I was going to make that choice, if I had that guy on the board in my turn to draft and I was going to go for a second baseman, I would take my chances with Javier Baez before I would take my chances with him.
Well, Baez is another
he'll be second
guy.
base eligible pretty quickly, assuming that he's healthy and everything goes well and he starts playing second base. I would assume that's the way it's going to go. So
Yeah.
I would take my chances with Baez. Right
Yeah.
now, he looks like a much better hitter to me.
Yeah. And then the other guy that you really can't discount is Altuve.
He regressed last year.
Guy's got speed to burn.
Right.
And if you're looking for, because the middle infield positions, there really aren't a ton of guys that are just really, worthy of early round picks. And, that's a position that maybe you use to fill your steal category. Or, if you can get a guy like Altuve and he gets you 40 stolen bases, he's got some value.
Right, but he's getting overdrafted right now anyway. He's going higher than
If he
what his
steals the
ADP
40
should be.
bases, then he's worth it.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, he stole
it's,
37 last year. All right, let's jump into shortstops. You know, you've got the big names: Hanley Ramirez, Tulowitzki.
Which, by the way, there's rumors that Hanley is hurt already. Steven, Guru, is this true? Do we even know at this point?
You know, he did play in the game down under, but the other guy that got hurt.
No, but he got hurt.
No, I know, but the other guy I was going to mention was Adrian Gonzalez, who apparently did too much sightseeing in Australia and wound up hurting his back. Did you hear about that?
He did great today.
He did play. He did play.
He played and he hit the ball well.
I thought that was kind of funny.
But there's rumors that
Ran out of the ball, came back, grabbing his left hamstring.
maybe he was checking his wallet.
Was it his pants? Who knows? But, you know, anybody who had the over/under on Hanram getting hurt in the first game of the year.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, you know, a couple of the guys certainly worthy of mention. Jason Segura, who broke out last year. And another guy that I've gotten a couple of leagues already who I like a lot is Ian Desmond.
I would put Desmond over Segura. Segura had a great first half. He tailed off power-wise in the second half.
Yeah,
Desmond has been 20-20 the past 2 years.
Yeah, I don't expect Segura to be a big home run guy. I think what you saw at the beginning of last year was a bit of an aberration. He's going to hit for average. He's going to steal some bases. He's going to hit 10, 12 home runs. You know, he's certainly an upper tier shortstop, but I think the guy out there is Desmond. You know, just because Tulowitzki and Ramirez are so injury prone.
Right.
I mean, both of those guys will spend time on the DL this year. It's inevitable. You know, Desmond goes out there and plays every day, and he's, like you said, he's a 20-20 guy, and you know, certainly a guy that you want to have on your roster.
You drafted him way early in our draft. You drafted him way early. You make that statement.
All right, well, we'll see. A couple of duds, you know, some guys have kind of fallen off the cliff a little bit. Chippy Rollins.
Yeah, he's on his way out in Philly.
He is. Derek Jeter. You know, Derek's going to get a lot of attention this year, but it won't be for his performance.
No. Hopefully, listen, if he puts together a solid 500 at-bat season, you know, you'll get some usable stats if he's not injured.
If you count ground balls, he should have about 400.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but from a fantasy standpoint, it's not going to be very productive for you.
No. Yeah. And another guy that's been disappointing and who I would categorize as a dud this year is Zach Cozart. You know, I expected more out of him offensively. It looks like we're pretty much, you know, going to get what we've seen so far out of him. I don't expect a big improvement out of him.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Couple of sleepers, Xander Bogaerts.
Xander. Every keeper league that I'm in, I took this guy 2 years ago, waiting for him to come up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy with a tremendous amount of ability, a tremendous amount of potential. Then we've got Owings, who is suddenly a hot topic.
He played today. He started. I think he went 0 for 3. It looks like he is the starting shortstop at this point in time over Didi Gregorius.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's now Owens' time. So.
And a couple of potential keepers for next year. Everett Cabrera.
Well, I'd like to go over one more
Please.
sleeper at shortstop. Brad Miller from Seattle.
Oh, he's having an unconscious spring right now.
He had a good season last year.
He did.
And people are overlooking him.
Yeah.
But if you want a shortstop to grab in the middle rounds after the top ones are gone, this is a guy to target.
Having a great spring.
He's hitting 460 in the spring right now, and he's a great pick.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, potential keepers coming up this year. Everett Cabrera. You know, he did come off the PED issue, but you're not looking for him as a power guy. You're looking at him as a guy with the potential to steal 60 bases.
There are other shortstops I'd keep over Cabrera.
Well, I'm talking about, you know, potential, you know, guys that could take a big step up this year. We talked about Desmond. We talked about Castro. Let's take a break right now. I think we have a caller. I think we have Hondo from Port Chef, New York. Hondo, you there? We lose him?
Hello?
Hey, Hondo, welcome to the show.
Hello!
Hello. How you doing
back,
today?
Boys.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back. We're very excited to be talking baseball again.
Congratulations. I'm glad you didn't jump the shark and you're back on the airwaves.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's going on? What's on your mind, my friend?
I want to talk about Manny Machado.
Okay.
Fun to say his name, but what's going on with this guy? I picked him as my third baseman. I want to know, did I make a mistake? What are you expecting from him this year?
What round did you draft him in, just out of curiosity?
Why do we have that delay there?
Well, we just had some news on Manny.
You get 2 times Hondo today.
Well, all right. Well, we have some news for you on Manny. Go ahead, Guru.
Probably about the 36th pick of the day.
Okay.
He's been cleared for baseball activities, but he hasn't started running yet because he's laid off so long. You're going to see him start on the DL, and he should be up 15 days after the season starts.
Now, with that said, hopefully you have a backup third baseman. Manny
Which
Machado.
is my next question.
Well, Manny Machado is absolutely a huge talent and will be a star in this league for many years to come. He's very young. He's got a tremendous amount of ability. We saw flashes of that last year. He's incredibly athletic, both offensively and defensively. I mean, the guy was a whiz last year with the glove as well. So here's your situation right now: is you need to have somebody worth picking up that you can play for a couple of weeks. Guys that might be out there, Castellano might be out there for you. He's a guy that I would consider.
Yeah, but he won't be eligible until he gets his required games at third base. He's only outfield eligible right now.
Yeah, you'll have to check his eligibility in your league. Anybody else you want to throw out there as a possible late round?
The only thing I want to say about Machado is that
what I'm thinking is moving Carcione to third base and putting Matt Adams on first, but then I'm afraid of losing my utility guy.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was just to tell you, Hondo, about Machado is that with these guys that are coming up at 19, 20 years of age, 21 years of age, they're maturing at the major league level, not in the minor league. So the power and all that is not going to come right away. So I don't know if you're going to see 25 homers out of Machado this year. I mean, last year he had tons of doubles. He's a doubles machine. It's one after another. So it looks to me like the power will eventually come. But if we're expecting 25 homers and 100 RBIs out of Machado this year, I don't know if that's a reasonable expectation. And if you drafted him at the 36th pick, that's probably right around the 4th round in your league. It's a 12 or 14 team league or whatever, so it's probably somewhere probably a little bit too early, my guess is.
But listen, some guys that might be available on the waiver wire for you might be a guy like Todd Frazier, maybe a Chris Johnson.
Mike Moustakas.
Moustakas, I am pretty sure won't be available. He's a guy that I've got as a big breakout player.
Anthony Rendon.
Yeah, I mean, Chisenhall. I mean, there's somebody out there for you, my friend. Don't worry.
All right, I'll be looking. Hey, I'd like to make a donation, General. I'd like to make a memorabilia donation to your desk there, if you would take it from me.
Well, listen, the only donations we're taking are in the forms of cash. So if you want to meet me out in the parking lot here at the radio studios with your wallet, I'd be more than happy to take it.
I have something I like to call the General's Cup. And I think it will look great sitting on the desk right next to you.
This is the part where you start to cut the caller off. Now we're at a point where we're not talking about fantasy baseball anymore.
It was great talking to you, Hondo. Thanks for calling in, brother.
All right, take care, boys.
All right, man. Have a good one.
And we move on.
All right. He was going to start talking about landscaping next, I believe. We caught him before he made a plug for his business.
That's it.
All right. Anyway, so we talked about third baseman. Let's move into the outfield. The obvious picks are Trout, Adam Jones, McCutchen. We're not even going to talk about those guys. Here are some duds, though. Kemp. What did we make of Kemp this year?
Can you stay healthy?
That's the bottom line.
But even if he stays healthy, how productive is this guy really going to be at this point?
He's still pretty young. He's not in his mid to late 30s. So if he stays healthy, you're going to get 20 homers out of him.
Okay, a far cry from what we saw in his prime.
You're not going to get stolen. The stolen base days.
Stolen bases that's
what you're
over.
hoping for is this guy can play 150 games. If he plays 150 games, I think he could even hit 30 homers and drive in over 100 runs. But he will not steal 2 bases, if any at all. He probably won't even attempt to steal all year, which makes sense at this point because that part of his game is gone. If he stays healthy, stays on the field, I think he'll be productive.
Okay. All right, Josh Hamilton, a guy that I'm way down on.
Right. Has he even played yet? I think he's played one game.
He has, but I'm looking at him as a dud. I've seen him drafted way too early in a couple of leagues.
I won't even touch Josh.
Way
Hamilton.
too early.
I disagree with both you guys because he has had one bad season in his career, and it was last season. It was one of the seasons where he wasn't injured. But sitting on top of that big contract, going out to a new team, He took his 43 homers and his 130 RBIs and
From Texas
and
to
went out
LA.
to LA, and he struggled mightily. The first 2.5, 3 months of the season, he did nothing. So for him to even come up with 27, whatever it was, 25 homers and 80 RBIs was a miracle because he was so far down. It's incredible. Yeah. I don't think he's done. And I think he can still be a 30, 35
It depends
homer guy.
on what your definition of done is. You know, should he be on somebody's roster?
Absolutely.
Yes. Will he have a somewhat productive season? Yes. Should he be drafted anywhere near the first 5 or 6 rounds? No.
I would disagree with that. I think you could draft him in the 5th or 6th round. Look, you're taking a gamble. It's not. See, if I got a healthy Josh Hamilton, or I'm going to take a player, with maybe better health or maybe better potential, but I got a guy that I know can hit. I'm taking the guy I know that can hit in the 6th round.
Okay.
I'm not saying, because I don't think he's done. I think he can still hit 30 homers and still drive in 100 runs and still hit 300. That's what I believe.
All right. One last guy I want to mention is Ichiro.
If you're drafting him, then you shouldn't be in fantasy sports.
Well, yeah, that's my point. That's exactly my point. Is this is a guy that was an extremely productive player for a lot of years and has now gone to being absolutely irrelevant in fantasy baseball. Some big time sleepers. Billy Hamilton.
Is he really a sleeper? People keep talking him up.
You know what? Everybody knows.
It's a question of where to draft him.
It's a question of where to draft him, but this is a guy who's having a great spring and has the potential to do something that we haven't seen in a long time and steal 100 bases. And that could easily happen with him. If he plays every day and finds his way on base, he will steal.
That's the key. He's got to find his way on base.
He's got to find his way on base.
That's been his big problem.
Right.
Oh, I think that when you have the kind of speed that Billy Hamilton has, I think that it's hard to get a guy out. If he slaps that ball around, even on the infield, and gets his speed, he will get those infield hits, and he'll keep himself above water, keep himself in the 280s, 270, 280s, and if he walks a little bit to boot, you're going to get those 75 steals. I don't know if we're going to see 100 out of the guy, but if he's, I think that 50 to 75 is probably a reasonable expectation if he plays every day and goes the whole year with the team.
Yeah. Leonis Martin, I think, is a nice sleeper for this year.
No power. He's a stolen base guy.
Yeah.
I don't think the power is ever going to come with him.
We'll see.
I think they thought it was going to come with him, but I have a feeling we're not going to see it. He does struggle against lefties at times. I don't know.
Yeah, and the other guy is obviously Springer, who's really,
But again, the question
a sleeper
with
only because he hasn't played yet, and we don't know when he'll be up and when he will play.
But that's the question. When do you draft George Springer? When do you draft him?
He's a late rounder at this point.
It's not going to help you until at least June.
He's a late rounder.
I've got 3 more, that are up right now that I think people should be targeting in the mid to late rounds. And Cole Calhoun of the Angels, the other Chris Davis in Milwaukee.
Lots of power
there. K-R-I-S Davis. Chris Davis.
Chris with a K.
And A.J. Pollock from Arizona. You're looking at double numbers from him. And that's something good to get in the mid to late rounds to build up both your speed and your power.
Yeah. Okay, and then some probable keepers coming into this year. If he hasn't been a keeper yet, Puig is an obvious choice. Will Myers is a pretty obvious choice. A guy I like as a potential the next year is Christian Yelich. This guy is a pure hitter. He's a pure hitter, and he's going to be playing, and he's going to get a lot of at-bats, and he's a guy to certainly keep an eye on. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back with a couple of phone calls, and then we'll go over the pitchers for this year.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on InRavio.com. InRavio.com.
Hey, this is Gina Cotillo from The Gina Show. Come join us every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for celebrity interviews, Reality Reel with Billy Charles, funny stories with Brian Kinnear, and much, much more. The Gina Show can be found only on InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world, so come and catch us.
I'll be singing.
is your good buddies Bruce and Disco from the Glory Days show, which can be seen every Sunday morning starting at 10 a.m. here in the East.
We have sports highlights, movie reviews, and celebrity interviews.
We have out-of-town correspondents, Timmy the Trotter giving us horse racing tips, and at the end of every show, Mr. B does a live song.
The Glory Days show, found only on radio.com, broadcasting to the world. Catch us.
We are back here on Fantasy Baseball Code Red on radio.com. Lots of action on our chat box. What's going on up there?
Well, let's see. We've got Vince from Brooklyn telling us that Pineda looks awesome this spring. That's Michael Pineda for the Yankees. And from Jackson is telling us Salazar is going to have a big year. I assume he's talking about Danny Salazar.
Danny Salazar will have a big year. We will talk about him some more later.
Jackson's also mentioning your Danny Ventura.
Another guy I like a lot.
A good late round pick.
I don't think he'll be available that late, though, with all the hype that he's received.
The one I like is from Harry from Pitt again, is Hamilton can mash when he is healthy. There you go. Vindication from Pittsburgh, from Harry.
Thank you, Pittsburgh.
That's pretty much it. I see that's about it. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, we have a caller.
Hello.
I think we have Disco from the Glory Days show here on Radio. What's up, Disco?
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing, my man?
All right. First of all, let me say congratulations. What a great show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, no, I didn't mean your show. I meant the promo that you just showed for the Glory Days.
Well, listen, if you haven't watched Glory Days, I will tell you guys it's a great show. A couple of guys that are pretty knowledgeable about sports, and also we've got a little twist at the end where our good friend Mr. B does a little musical performance at the end. So, in fact, the Admiral will be making a little cameo appearance tomorrow on Glory Days.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun tomorrow. But really, you guys do a great job.
Ah, thank you.
You know, and I just wanted to congratulate you on your show and let you know that tomorrow on Glory Days, we're going to have our baseball extravaganza tomorrow. We're going to have a guy from Boston. We're going to have a 12-year-old kid talking about the Mets. We found the only guy that lives in Houston that is actually a Houston Astros fan.
Really?
George Springer?
You know, it's kind of hard to root for a team that won only 55 games, you know. But and again, like you said, we're going to have some guy on that talks about fantasy baseball tomorrow.
Yes, I should be on around 10:30, 20 to 11.
A cameo appearance?
According to the sheet, you're on at 10:33 exactly.
10:33. Okay, I'll make sure I use the restroom at 10:32.
You better call him early.
You know what? Really though, I've never done fantasy baseball before.
Ah, well.
And listening to you guys, it makes me want to join a fantasy league.
Good. See, that's what we're trying to convert people. We're trying to bring people into the fold. All right, my man. We will see you tomorrow on your show.
Congratulations, guys. Good luck.
All right, Disco. Thank you.
Thanks, Disco.
Bye.
All right, let's jump back into our fearless predictions for this year. We're going to jump right into starting pitchers right now. You know what? Again, we've got a couple of studs, out there that really require no explanation. Clayton Kershaw, who threw a gem early this morning in Australia. Hugh Darvish, another guy who really took a big step up strikeout machine.
Could be 300 Ks this year.
Yeah, and Strasburg obviously is in the upper echelon.
If he stays healthy.
If he stays healthy, which I expect that he will.
Last couple of years he's had health issues.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what?
I'd take Jose Fernandez over him right now.
Yeah.
The younger arms.
It's questionable.
With at least the same ability, although it's not portrayed that way. But Jose Fernandez he's got his eyes set on having an ERA that's, microscopic this year. He's already making predictions about having the lowest ERA in a very long time. I hope he just at least can do what he did last year. Forget about trying to have a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah, absolutely. Some big duds this year. A guy that I was down on, and I made it public, if you recall, on last year's show about CC. I think Sabathia is very much on the downside of his career. The fastball is just not there anymore. He's not throwing in the mid-90s like he used to. He did pitch a gem, though. I believe it was yesterday in a spring training game.
You really can't use those.
You can't because the pitchers. Well, the pitchers are
not
really,
for a guy like CC.
Yeah, but the pitchers are ahead of the hitters at this point in the season. But I think CC should fall in drafts this year. A guy that I don't expect to have a big year.
You're not going to see the CC of old. You're going to see an old CC.
Yeah. And then we've got, we talked about him already, A.J. Burnett, who could go from usable to dud in very quick fashion. A guy I want to mention, and I'd love to get your feedback on, is R.A. Dickey, who I have as a dud this year.
Listen, my opinion on him is he's a total unknown. You can't possibly think you're going to get any type of production like he got with the Mets at this point. Do I think he's a usable mid to low, back-end rotation guy for a team at this point? Yeah. I can't see myself getting all excited to draft him anywhere that's like, for one of the top pitchers, and not in the world that we're in now with him, So I'm not excited about him.
Yeah, I tell you, that trade in 2 years is going to go down at one of the biggest heists in Major League Baseball history. I know you guys aren't big on,
Well, no, the reason why is because of the pitcher. That's the reason why.
Between Syndergaard and D'Arnaud, and there's also a guy that people have forgotten about already. The outfielder that they got in that trade still has a lot of potential, but I think it was an obvious mistake on Toronto's part to make that deal. They got a reigning Cy Young Award winner, but I don't think anybody really.
That's a trend you should follow in fantasy baseball. Sell high, buy low.
Yeah.
They sold high on R.A. Dickey.
Yeah. Some big sleepers for this season. Not that he's much of a sleeper, but Tony Cingrani.
I see him taking a step back this year.
Do you?
I really do. He relies on his fastball way too much. He's got a deceptive motion, but his control isn't there yet. So I don't think you're going to see the Cingrani from last year with a 3 ERA, and a good whip.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Respectfully. Any thoughts? You want to break the tie?
I like him. I don't know if we can really start talking about regression yet about a player. He's only had one or maybe almost half a season in the majors. I can't say where he's going. He's not going backwards yet. Let's just see him pitch again one full season if he plays the entire year, which, right now, no pitcher seems to be able to do that in baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
But get 30 starts out of him, see where we're at, and go from there. I'm high on him right now. I think he's going to be a good pitcher. So, not the frontline guy, but definitely right after the frontline guys are gone, then Cingrani is one of those guys that I'd be looking for.
Yeah. Another guy that I like a lot is Alex Wood, with the injuries to Beachy, who unfortunately is now having his second Tommy John. Medlin out, Alex Wood in.
And Minor is going to start the season on the DL also.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yes.
Okay.
And the thing with Wood or any of these guys that pitch in that system down in Atlanta is you have a major support system. You have a back-end bullpen that is not going to blow saves. You have middle relievers. They know how to put a roster together. So it's a good place to be a starting pitcher right now is in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I have two more that you want to target that are going to be sleepers. Ivan Nova, who started to come into his own at the second half last year. And a pitcher that everybody's overlooking is Doug Fister.
You know what? He's a guy that if he can stay healthy, he's very, very usable.
Very much.
You know, he
It's
put
just
up
a
good numbers in
huge
Detroit. He's
if.
going to the NL.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
I really see him.
He's a guy I've had, on and off my rosters for the last several years, and I've done well with him when he's healthy.
Right.
Can he stay on the field?
And the other guy that I just bring up while we're talking about, not really a sleeper, but just a guy that flies under the radar, and I think is the most underrated starting pitcher in baseball, and that's Iwakuma out in Seattle. I know he's had that finger injury, and he's working his way through that. He threw 40 pitches, I guess it was yesterday or the day before. So he will be playing soon. This guy's underrated. This guy's a quality start almost every single time out there.
No question.
Probably a guy you might be able to grab, let him slip a little bit, and then go for him.
Yeah. Some potential keepers for this year. A guy that I'm really was high on last year, is Andrew Kashner. For some reason, not striking out guys with the regularity that he did, previously. But this guy is pitching in a great park. He's going to have a very low ERA, very low WHIP. You'll take whatever you can get in terms of strikeouts. He's a guy that I really like a lot. Another guy that I really love is, and somebody mentioned him on the chat board, but Danny Salazar.
Somebody mentioned him last year, right?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure. Was it the commish?
It was the guru.
The commander? I don't know. It was this guy. A guy coming off of Tommy John, but he's healthy now. Throws bullets.
Yeah, he's a guy you want
He's
on
a
your roster.
good starter.
And also another guy there's a lot of guys out there, but another guy who can get overlooked in your league, Mike Waka. I think that he's primed and ready to go. St. Louis has handled him almost perfectly from the day that they've signed him to where he's at right now with that team. I think they've managed him well. They did a stupendous job last year managing his innings and doing what everyone should be doing, is making these guys so they can pitch towards the end of the season rather than burning them out in the beginning of the season. I think a maturation there this year is probably going to happen, and see a good guy.
The only thing about Waka is everybody saw what Waka did at the end of last year, and he's going to be drafted too high. Not that he's not a good pitcher, but everybody's going to look and say, this is the Michael Waka we saw in the playoffs. I'm going to draft him higher than his ADP should be, and you'll get much, better pitchers for your value if you don't overreach on him.
All right, let's quickly run through relievers. The obvious choice is the best of the bunch, Kimbrel, Holland, and you would have included Chapman obviously in that conversation, but some
Kenley Jansen.
Yeah,
I would put up there as a stud.
Okay,
Couple
of duds. We're going to get into the closer carousel.
Listen, you know how I feel about this
I'm sure
category.
next week.
Well, I'm going to start right now, and I'll make a bold statement right here and now. It's not a bold statement. It's my usual statement, but with these closers, guys, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, there's probably 5 guys that you can count on from April till September. After you get away from those 5 guys, it is a rotating
it's a
mess. You don't know what you're getting, and it changes on a daily basis. So my only recommendation with the whole relief pitcher closer category is, I don't even draft these guys normally. This year I did change my strategy, but normally I don't even draft one prior to the 10th round because I'm disgusted with the whole category. Because if you don't get one of the top guys, you're getting a carousel of guys that just keep moving and getting injured over and over and over again. So the only thing I can say is try to get a decent guy, I would say in the 9th or 10th round, and then try to get a handcuff guy later on, a guy that you can kind of attach to him, that if he goes down, you have the backup, or somebody's backup on a different team. Just similar to what's happened now.
I agree. You've got guys that I consider to be possible duds this year: Grilly, Street.
Oh, there'll be 60% turnover in this category before June 1st.
LaTroy Hawkins was signed as the closer in Colorado. Why they're not using Brothers?
My biggest dud.
Brothers will be the guy in 2 weeks.
Papelbon's going down.
Papelbon. Some guys to watch though. I would watch Brothers. I would watch Cishek in
I'd watch
Florida.
Cody Allen out in Cleveland, right? He's
Benoit in San Diego.
Robertson.
Strop in Chicago. There are quite a few.
I like Rosenthal a lot. I like Perkins. I like Romo. So let's. But this is just it's impossible to have this conversation right now with any accuracy because we all know what's going to happen. Okay, let's quickly go through spring training. Who's hot? Who's not? A couple of guys I just think are worthy of mention. Not that you can place that much stock in what happens in spring training, but it's an indicator. Mike Moustakas having a tremendous spring, batting .474, 4 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Austin Jackson, .459, 2 home runs, 12 runs batted in. Castellanos having a big spring.
All right, that's the one I would stop on, because to me, spring training stats really only are relevant in most cases to the young player trying to make a roster or trying to show he can hit in the major leagues, and maybe a guy who's returning from injury. You want to see if he can do anything. I mean, for the regular run-of-the-mill player, not really all that informative. But for a guy like Castellanos, we have some indication now, aside from the few at-bats that we saw last year, right? He came up at the end of the year, had like 10, 15 at-bats. I don't remember now how many at-bats he had, but he played a little bit. 400, 2 homers, 16 RBI. So now when you go to draft that guy, you feel a little bit better. Well, number one, he's going to make the team. Number two, he's hitting.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, the trade, obviously opened up the way for him. So, Colton Wong having a nice spring. Stanton having a nice spring. 4 home runs.
That's another one.
There's a guy that you want this year.
That's another one.
Take Stanton, because he's due for a break. Not a breakout year, but he's due for a monster season.
I mean, there's always an injury risk, but the difference between an injury risk with a guy like Ryan Howard versus a guy like Stanton. Stanton's, I don't know, 25? How old is he?
Yeah, 23.
23?
Yeah.
All right, so the difference there is the recovery time and is shorter. He should be healthier, ready to go, and he's healthy now.
Yeah.
So,
guy you mentioned earlier, General, Javier Baez, 308, 5 home runs this spring. Chris Heisey, a guy that I was kind of wondering why he was still in the Reds lineup, and Hamilton wasn't. Having a great spring, 368.
Again last night.
5 or 6 home runs on the spring, 11 runs batted in.
Jackie Bradley Jr. had a great spring last year, too.
That's true.
Yeah, again, this is just one
and we found out
indicator.
that he can't hit in the majors.
And you found out that he sucks.
And he's still this year. He's struggling again this year too. He's not doing great either now.
Jason Hayward looks like he's on the way back. 3 home runs and a .326 batting average in the spring.
He'll be batting leadoff this year, though, for the Braves. So your RBI numbers won't be as big.
You're not sure how long that'll last, though. He's not a leadoff guy.
That's another thing. Not to change subjects quickly, but Puig batted leadoff today, and the word is they're experimenting with him batting leadoff. That is a blow right there.
It's a mistake.
If he's going to bat leadoff, that kind of changes where you want that guy.
Yeah. Speaking of leadoff guys, Billy Hamilton, 306 this spring, 9 stolen bases. Let's get into who's not hot. I mean, you mentioned Puig. He's batting 122 on the spring. I think he took the
last year. He had 500
night,
in the spring.
Or this morning in his
if
first
we take
game.
the 2 springs and put them together, he's a 300 hitter.
Not a home run this spring, so off to a slow start. Chase Utley.
He's done.
He's done. 167 on the spring. Surprising Dominic Brown.
No.
Not done. But 171 on the spring, not a home run.
The month he had, the breakout month he had,
that was his whole season. He
had 20 Ks to no walks that month. And those numbers just won't support you for the whole year.
Yeah. Carl Crawford, 188 this spring, but apparently he's going to be the guy.
The guy for what?
He's going to be the guy. He's going to be the starter.
Listen, Carl Crawford will get injured, so don't worry about it, folks. Don't draft him. Stay away from him. You don't want him. His numbers aren't even going to. Even if he plays, I don't think you're going to see anywhere near close to what he did. Forget about the numbers he put up in Tampa. You're not seeing anywhere near that. So he's on the way major decline.
Matt Garza, a horrible spring. 19 ERA, 19 hits in 5 2/3 innings over 3 starts. You're a little behind the 8 ball here, Matt. All right, here's the next thing we're going to do. We're getting a little tight on time here, so we're going to go through last year's breakout players. I'm just going to throw out the name. I want you guys to tell me, is he the real deal or was he a one-year wonder? Matt Carpenter, real deal or not?
No, he'll be good, but he won't be last year good.
Yeah, I mean, and now we saw him hit 20 homers. He had 11 homers, had like 190 hits. I think he can produce close to those levels, but I don't think he can see any better than that.
Okay, Chris Davis.
I think he's the real deal.
Real deal.
No question he's the real deal, but will he hit 50 home runs again this year?
Not 50, but he's certainly a slugger who's going to go
So we'll
out
take
there.
a step back.
I'm expecting 40 and the 110, 20 RBIs. That's what I would think we should be getting from Chris Davis.
Josh Donaldson.
And that's a tough one.
People are high on him. I'm not.
I'm not either. I say step back.
Yeah.
Goldschmidt, I think we're in agreement that his
He'll
best
continue
years
right
are still
on.
ahead of him.
Yep.
Machado, we talked about. A guy I like a lot is Starling Marte. Real deal?
No.
I disagree.
He has to hit more power. It's fine to steal the 40 bases, okay, but he has to, he's got to hit for more home runs. And I know it depends on where he's batting in the order in terms of the RBIs, but we got to see a little more production out of him before I start getting too
And
excited.
his contact. He
I
strikes
say
out a lot.
Marte, future stud. Puig, real deal?
Real deal.
He should be the real deal, regardless of the spring training stats, and today's 0 for 5.
Yeah. Patrick Corbin is an interesting story.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. That's what makes him an interesting story. Out for the year, I guess, right?
Yes.
Tommy
He's
John
done.
surgery.
Yeah, Tommy John
See
surgery.
him sometime late next year.
Shame. Jose Fernandez, I think we're probably all in
We're
agreement.
just seeing the
Real deal.
beginnings of him.
Yep.
Matt Harvey, unfortunately, will be taking the season off, but I
Right.
still say real deal when he comes back.
Harvey is one of those guys that you're going to see a scramble. Every now and then, in June, July, you're going to hear that he's going to start pitching in August or something like that. You'll see a scramble to put him on a roster, but he won't be drafted
Yeah.
nowhere.
And even if he is, he won't be.
He won't play enough to make it worth your while.
Okay, we talked about Iwakuma. I think we all would say
Yeah,
he's
real deal.
He's real deal. Scherzer,
Absolutely.
Yep.
as good as last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as good.
I mean,
He'll
you
put up
can't,
similar
you can't
numbers, but
expect
not-
ridiculous stats like
Right.
what Chris Davis did or what he did every
Right,
year, but
right.
you're going to get a good player, obviously.
Elite numbers. Possible breakout guys for this year. We talked about Hosmer. We like him. We talked about Abreu. I think we're a little. We're going to take a wait and see approach on him. Nolan Arenado. I'm going to call him a potential breakout guy. He's not going to be a 30-homer guy, but he's going to hit for average. He's going to drive in runs. I think he's a potential 20-homer guy.
No, he'll hit 20. He's still maturing. He's
Yeah.
a young kid.
Young kid.
And those famous words, where is he playing?
Colorado.
If there was ever a place where you want to start your career, like Manny Machado should be in Colorado right now. I'd put him down for the 30 homers.
Yeah. Bogarts, I think we all think is the real deal.
Yep.
A guy I like a lot as a potential breakout guy this year is Lorenzo Cain.
I don't like him.
I like him. I like him a lot.
No.
I like him.
No, 2 against 3. I mean, two against 1.
The Admiral said draft him. Get him on your roster.
Cut that on a loop and let's keep that handy for future use.
Adam Eaton. Real deal?
I have no real thoughts about Adam Eaton. Solid player.
15-25. 15 homers, 25 steals.
I would agree with you. Billy Hamilton.
Can't steal first.
He's a question mark.
You can't steal first, but man, this guy,
No, he's got the speed. So
I-
did, what was the guy? Ron Washington?
if he gets on base
The designated
at
runner.
all, he's going to steal 90 bases.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Owings?
Owings I like. Owings, you're going to see 280, 15 homers. This guy I like.
Profar?
Profar again, another, he's going to have a breakout season if he can stay healthy.
I
He's
say
injured
real
right
deal.
now.
You with us or against us?
I'm not sold on Profar right now.
Okay. Andrelton Simmons.
Real
Well,
deal.
I think he's the real deal.
I would say real deal
if
there.
you see similar to stats to last year, you should see better ones actually this year.
And he stole bases in the minors, and he hasn't done it yet in the majors. So
Okay.
if he can add that wrinkle too.
George Springer. I think we're all in agreement on George. Real deal. Sonny Gray.
Real deal.
I say absolute real deal.
I'm on board with Sonny Gray.
Danny.
I love the name anyway. So.
So you got to love it.
The guy's on the Oakland A's and his name is Sonny Gray.
It's
I love
Sonny
it.
Tay for Sonny Gray.
I love it.
All right. Danny Salazar, I think we're all in love with. Tanaka, I think we're all going to say he's real deal.
Oh, without a doubt. I can't see how you could say he's not. I mean, if you had those kind of stats at AAA, we'd be falling all over ourselves. 24-0,
Right.
180 Ks and 200 innings, an ERA under 2. Even in Japan, I don't care. That's good enough for me.
Okay. Zach Wheeler.
He's going
I'm
to
not
take a
sold.
step forward this year.
I say step forward, not real deal this year. I say real deal next year.
I'm not sold on him.
Okay. Let's get into our man crush segment here because that's going to be a big story for us this year. Last year we had the man crush segment. If you recall, we had the commish with Manny Machado. The general had Mr. Puig, and I had Harvey. Unfortunately, I can't go back to Mr. Harvey this year, so I am going with, drum roll please, Bryce Harper. Don't love him as far as his personality goes. I think he's got a little maturing to do, but I expect him to break out in a very big way this year.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years of like, where is this guy ever going to get to a point where...
Stay on the field,
while we're
Bryce.
on that subject, I have to say this. Before either one of these guys really broke out, Trout and Harper, they both kind of looked similar in their profiles at the time they were both coming up. This man to your right said that Trout is by far the better player, and that was before the 30 homers and the 30 steals and all that kind of good stuff. So I got to give props to the guru on that one.
I say if you can avoid running into a wall this year, Bryce Harper, big breakout. Who are you going with this year?
I'm going to, listen, I wanted to go with George Springer. It's kind of hard to go with a guy that's going to be in the minors, so I am assuming that Javier Baez is going to make the team, and Chicago is doing the right thing, by the way. Doing the right thing. They're going to put him at second base, it looks like, and he's going to start the season on the Major League roster. I like that. Don't screw around with this Super 2 stuff, this, that, and the other thing. Just get the guy who helps you win on the team, so I'm going to go with him.
All right, Guru?
I had two that I like, and I'm just going to go with this one instead, Xander Bogaerts. I just think...
That's a great man crush. That fits in well with our man crush motif. Did I just say
like
motif?
I said, he's a guy in keeper
Did I
leagues.
actually say that?
He's a guy in keeper leagues. I took number one with picks in every one.
Okay. All right, listen, we have about 3 or 4 minutes left. What I want to do to wrap the show up is go through the rookies. Again, we'll pretty much do it the same way as the breakout guys. Do you see him having an impact this year? Colton Wong.
Yes, starting second baseman for the Cards.
I'm not sold on his stats. He might be the starting second baseman, but I'm not sure from a production standpoint if you're going to get anything out of him that makes him,
You know what? I like him at the position that he's eligible for. Carlos Martinez, apparently the 5th starter in St. Louis.
Or long relief. His iffy situation.
I think he's going to be the 5th starter. I think that's been
They love
announced.
Joe Kelly.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they love Joe Kelly.
I like Martinez, porn and all. I'm not sure if you guys heard the story about that, but apparently Mr. Martinez does not know the ins and outs of Twitter and has been liking some questionable sites, and that came to light. So, dude, calm yourself down. There's plenty of room for that kind of stuff in the privacy of your own bedroom. James Taillon.
I like him.
He was sent down, but I like him a lot.
Yeah, he'll come up in June when they do the Super 2.
Yeah.
But, not somebody I would target for this year.
Yeah. Alex Meyer?
No.
I'm not crazy about
Let me tell you something. You're 6'9". I like you just for being 6'9". Eduardo Rodriguez, Baltimore starting pitcher.
You don't have enough information on him. He hasn't, you know what I mean? He only played a little bit in the minors last year.
The problem with this guy is he's behind Bundy and Gausman. So I like him. I don't see him having a big impact this year.
Not at all.
Stroman,
Down.
he's the antithesis of Meyer. He's the 5'9" guy.
Yeah, and he was sent down too. He didn't look good in spring.
Had a horrible spring.
This is a guy I've been watching play since he was in 7th grade. He's local product from
Local
Long Island.
product. Patchogue, Medford product.
Medford kid. He was getting blown up in the last couple of times he pitched. He's not ready. He's not ready.
Yeah, he's not ready. Oscar Tavares.
Yes. Yes, it's only a matter of time.
He's flying under the radar a little bit this year as opposed to last year. But, 5-tool talent. You got to like this guy.
Got to stay healthy, though.
Yeah.
He has to stay healthy. This guy's constantly injured, too.
Yeah. Archie Bradley, thumbs
Yes.
up, thumbs down.
Yes.
Can we get a consensus here?
There's a big yes on
No.
Archie Bradley.
Yes?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking.
You think it was Archie Bunker?
No. I'm sorry. I was thinking of
It's a good thing
somebody
the show's
else.
almost over.
I was thinking of Jackie Bradley.
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, Archie Bradley, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Singleton.
No.
I'm gonna reserve the right to like him later. He's a big guy. He had the issues with the PEDs. He's going to get his opportunity in Houston. I like him. I don't love him.
I like the guy they have in Houston who's the 300-pounder. Janflit Amador. They signed him from the Mexican League. He's 300 pounds, folks.
Put down the
I'd rather see him
tacos.
before Singleton.
Put down the tacos, my friend. How about Buxton?
Like him, but
Love
you're not
him,
going to
but
see him.
It's too early.
It's too early.
It's just too early. He's 19 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we expecting?
I like him a lot. You might see him this year.
Yeah, but
Maybe, but how much can he produce?
right. And
Baez, Javier, we like him.
I love him.
should be starting over Barney.
Yeah. Chris Bryant did get sent down, but here's a guy with a lot of power.
Right.
We'll see the major leagues this year. Miguel Sano.
Yeah, out
Injured.
for the
He's out
season.
for the whole year.
It's done. Yeah, he was out for the year. Tommy
Oh, I
John
missed that.
surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, Tommy John surgery.
I missed 2 of those.
It's all right, we'll carry you the rest
Shame
of the
on me.
Okay, carry him to the finish line, folks.
Noah Syndergaard, I like
no-brainer.
a lot.
Yep.
I like him a lot. Greg Polanco?
Should be up right now.
I love him. I thought he was going to make the team.
Yeah.
He's down. I think that the power will develop it again. We're at these guys that are 20 years old. You can't expect that power right away. It's going to come, but I think you can hit the major league level and steal bases.
Okay, a couple more. Jock Peterson?
No, there's nowhere to play there. There's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to play
He'll
him, but
play
I
in
like
Crawford's
this guy a lot. I
Well,
like
even-
this guy
I
a
mean,
lot.
he's not even. I like him, but you're in a crowded.
You know, he was worthy. He actually was considered.
Ethier, Crawford. I'm up to 4 already.
Right.
Van Slyke is 5. He's 6th outfielder on that team
Okay,
right now.
on a team that you know at least 2 of those guys are going to wind up spending time on the DL. I keep him on my radar, folks. And then the last guy is Maikel Franco.
He was
down in
sent down.
Philly.
He didn't hit.
He was sent down, but could be out back up shortly.
Yeah. Cody Ash is not the solution there.
Yeah. All right, listen, I think we're out of time. We actually left some stuff on the table here. There was some stuff I wanted to go over, and we're going to have to carry it over to next week. But we will be back next week before the official start of the regular season. We'll be back next week at 11 o'clock here on Enravio, 11 to 12. So come back for some more info.
From musings from the general and all the information we can gain from the rest of our cast of characters. And our lineup for next Saturday will be determined.
Okay, great. All right, guys, thanks for joining us here on the season premiere of Fantasy Baseball Code Red on Enravio.com. We will see you next week.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Good luck.
Enravio.com.
Fantasy Baseball Code Red, the all-new weekly show bringing you the latest news, insight, and advice on all things fantasy baseball. Join Mike Ferrara and Mike Moosebrugger on Enravio every Saturday at 11 for an hour of unscripted and fully interactive live fantasy baseball. Fantasy Baseball Code Red, season premiere March 22nd at 11 on Enravio.com. Enravio, this isn't TV, this isn't radio, this is Enravio.com.